Hello viewers, today's video is for the upcoming researchers. These days, there is a very keen interest in GIS. New researchers, they are always trying to find out ways of incorporating GIS in their research. So today we will see certain aspects of how to use GIS in earth science or in environmental monitoring also. So see, this list which I have made over here, this is not an exhaustive list. These are just examples of how you can use GIS in your respective works, in your respective researches. I'm sure most of you have an idea about this, but so you already know that there are various other branches also in earth science, in environmental monitoring, where GIS can be used. But here I have tried to give you certain examples, and most of the examples that I have taken here are from my own research field. So the examples that today I will be showing are how to use GIS or the GIS application in climate change, vulnerable watershed demarcation, groundwater potentiality, habitat suitability analysis, disaster management, soil erosion susceptibility, forest fire hazard suitability, habitat mapping of medicinal plants, air quality monitoring and mapping, estimation of SPM in surface water body, LULC change, and health infrastructure. So this is again not an exhaustive list. There can be various others also. Now let us see. First, we have to understand that what is GIS? What do we mean by GIS? That is very important, because when we know about GIS, when we know what is GIS, then we can learn about the other aspects also. First of all, GIS is a database. What sort of database? It is a powerful tool that helps organizations or helps us. This tool helps us in collection of data. When the data is collected, analysis of the data. So the collection is done. The analysis of the data can be done through GIS, and then to distribute the information which is obtained, not the collected, not the collected information, but the collected information is analyzed, and a separate type of information is gathered from after the analysis. That information is distributed, which we will be seeing in the forthcoming slides. GIS, apart from being a database, it is also useful for management. What sort of management? So GIS technology, with the help of satellite images, is used to manage the various areas which requires conservation. So when we use GIS technology and satellite images for managing or conservation purpose, that helps us in the preservation of our environment. Third is, GIS is a very important information delivery system. So whatever information is obtained, that has to be delivered. If it is not delivered, then the environmental managers and the general public won't be able to take proper action on it. So it is used in the delivery of crucial information about the environment. Now through GIS and remote sensing, we are able to extract valuable information. It is just not the information that we feed into the system. No, through GIS and RS, valuable information can be extracted, and that information is through the application of various geospatial technologies. Now let us understand what are the various GIS softwares. So this QGIS software is an open source software, and you don't need to buy this software. But ArcGIS and EDDAS, these are paid softwares. So you can either use any of these, QGIS, ArcGIS, EDDAS. There are yet lots more also. So over here, I have given you the screenshot of a QGIS software, which is open source software. And all of the works that can be done in ArcGIS. It is not that since it is free, so you cannot do the works. You can in fact do much more works in QGIS. So here I have given you the screenshot of how the QGIS software looks like. So this is the menu bar, this is the toolbar. Here you add the data, the map view, the toolbox, whatever you want to do, the layer list, file browser, etc. Now you have to know what is remote sensing. The previous slides told you about GIS. Now, what is remote sensing? So, remote sensing is what, in very simple terms, when we obtain the data, not by being physically present there. That is why we are using the word remote. But we obtain the data through remote access. So, that is why remote sensing. Now, so it uses airborne and spaceborne sensors and platforms. So in that way, you don't need to be physically present in that region. It also provides valuable data for mapping, environmental monitoring, and disaster management. And one has to integrate, because GIS and RS goes hand in hand. You cannot separate one from the other. So the integration of GIS and RS, and there has to be some modeling techniques. If you just have GIS software, if you just have some pictures like this, that won't help solve the problem. You have to know some modeling techniques which you will ask your software to perform. So that will depend upon your end result. What you want, what is your goal? Depending upon that and your expertise is the modeling techniques. So when you will feed the software, when you know what modeling technique you want to apply based upon your goal, based upon the work that you want to achieve, then that is applied. These three, the integration of these three will give your end result, and that end result is applied to the field of environmental protection and management. Now here I have given you two satellite images, pictures of two satellite images. This is called Landsat and this is called Sentinel. Both can be obtained from USGS site. Now both of this you can easily spot the difference. Over here, the resolution for Landsat is 30 meters, while for Sentinel, like for Sentinel-2, it is from 10 to 20 meters. So in Sentinel, you get the resolution is much more better. You get much more better resolution, but at the same, you can see over here, you can see the agricultural fields over here, but you cannot make out what is what. You can get a general overview. But then in Sentinel, you get the area is small. If you want a large swath of area, that won't be possible in Sentinel. If you, for example, if you have to check the various the forest fires, you don't need to go deep into each and every parcel of land. If you want to see a huge land use land cover change for a huge swath of land, you can go for say, Landsat. For example, if you want to check Amazon rainforest, how that is been degraded, you can go for Landsat. But suppose you want to do some urban planning, urban area planning, then you have to, it is better that you use Sentinel, because these areas, this represents, this color, this represents the urban areas. So over here, you can easily spot the urban areas. So it becomes very easy to do the work. So depending upon what your end result is, you need to choose your images. And these images are free to be downloaded and also to be used. Now, GIS and disaster management. When we speak of disaster, so disaster can be of various nature. It can be landslide, it can be earthquake, it can be cyclone, etc. It can be man-made, etc. Whatever. It can be natural disaster. So, how GIS has become a tool towards disaster mitigation and management. Through GIS technology, first of all, when we want to manage or mitigate any problem, it is very important that we know the place where we want to plan, where we want to manage where we want to mitigate. So GIS technology helps in the management of risk and analysis by showing the areas which are more prone to these disasters. If we don't know the areas which are prone to disaster, which are susceptible to disaster, then how will we take the necessary action? How will we take the necessary steps? So GIS technology helps. Through GIS technology, we will be able to chalk out the areas which are susceptible to specific disasters. Now, when such susceptible areas can be chalked out, then we can take preventive measures well in advance. Now, we will see certain examples of how GIS can be used in disaster management. In this slide, I have shown a work wherein what we did was that this is Aizawl district. We mapped the landslide susceptible zonation. We tried to find out the landslide susceptible zonations of Aizawl district. Now, GIS, if you go to the second slide, if you just think of the second slide about how GIS does, now GIS will extract information, but for that you have to feed the GIS software, certain informations also. Without feeding it, the informations, then it won't be able to perform the various techniques. And over here, how does the RS comes, remote sensing comes? So the various maps, like for example, this shows the slope map. So for that, the original map was taken from satellite image. So the various conditioning factors were taken. What are the various conditioning factors? So we thought that these are the factors which in some way or the another, they affect landslide. They will be affecting landslide. These are the various factors which affects landslide. So the landslide conditioning factors were taken. What are the landslide conditioning factors? For example, slope map has been taken, that is sloping degrees, elevation in meters. Now these maps, these are called thematic maps, that is theme-based maps. So these theme-based maps were generated using GIS technique, but was generated from where? From the satellite images. So you see how GIS and RS is related to each other. So slope in degrees, elevation, aspect, etc. So these are the, as you are seeing, you can check from here. So these are the various thematic layers, thematic maps which were taken. LULC means land use, land cover, which is very important because we know that generally the areas which do not have forested areas, which are not forested, they are more prone to landslides. So the various these points were taken, these conditioning factors were taken, and through the modeling techniques, through the various modeling techniques that were done, then we came up with this map. So if you again recollect, if you again go back to the second slide, you will see that GIS helps in disseminating information. So this is the new information that through GIS technology we could obtain. This information was not in any map. It was not present there, but through GIS technique, through the various modeling techniques. What modeling techniques? The modeling techniques have been mentioned over here. So the various modeling techniques that were used, there are yet more modeling techniques. Through those modeling techniques, we have come up with the landslide susceptible zones. So this is the information dissemination. Now GIS works. How does GIS work? So GIS will analyze between these layers, in between these layers. So that will be intra analysis, and GIS will analyze between all these layers, that is inter. So GIS will analyze between the layers, and between the inter and the intra analysis will be done, and then it has come up with these maps. Now why do we need more than one map? You can do with one modeling technique also, that is also very much right, but here we have tried to work with more than one, so that we see that we have to be sure, if we go to the planners, if we go for to the mitigation team, to the management team, we have to be sure that yes, whatever we are saying, that should be correct. So when we have more than one such technique, then we have more than one result. And when we have more than one result, then we can see that, for example, see over here, this also says that this specific zone has got moderate to high susceptibility. And through this technique also, this also says that this zone also has moderate to high susceptibility. That means even this also says the same thing. So we know, even this also says the same thing. So we know that this most of these techniques have shown that this particular zone over here, I'm just taking an example, this particular zone over here has got the high susceptibility to moderate susceptibility. So we know that yes, this is the region which needs proper care. This is more susceptibility. So this needs proper care. So this is how disaster management GIS can be used for landslide disaster management. Now, how do you know whether this is correct or not? For that, we make these kinds of graphs, which is called ROC AUC curve. So if the result is more than 0.50 or 50%, then you know that the result is correct, because we are validating it with ground result. Whatever we are getting, we are validating that with ground result. So that is yet another technique. So over here, in all these techniques, we are seeing that it is more than 0.50 or 50%. So we know that our ultimate technique, ultimate result is correct. Now, how can we determine, or how can we use GIS for determining land use and land cover? But for that, you have to know what is land use and land cover. That is important. Now, land use, when we speak about land use, it means for what use is that land designed? What is the use that is being used to? How is that land being used to? It is used for agriculture, it is used for plantation. How is that land being used? And land cover, how is the land naturally covered? It is covered, the surface of the earth, that is covered. So that is land use and land cover. But land use and land cover changes with time. So through GIS technique, this helps us in determining how that has changed, the changes that has occurred. Through GIS, we can determine the changes in land use, land cover in different areas on a spatial and a temporal context. Through GIS, we will also be able to undertake the change detection among the classes. For example, forest class. After a certain period of time, maybe the forest class has changed to agricultural land or settlement. So among the various class, how much percentage of land has gone to the other areas, other land covers, other land uses? So that is change detection. So for example, from forest, how much percentage has gone to agriculture, how much has gone to settlement, etc., etc. So this interchange detection among classes can also be done through GIS. And whether that particular change in land use, land cover is due to natural cause or man-made activities, that can also be determined through GIS. Through GIS, we can also predict the future prediction of the LULC classes. So maybe for a certain time frame, maybe after 10 years, what will be the LULC of that region? That can also be done through this through GIS technique. Now over here, I have shown you two LULC of two images over here. You can see, and Landsat 8 has been taken for this. And what is the methodology that has been used? That is random forest. This is the methodology. So this shows for 2014 what was the land use, land cover for this specific area, that was study area that was taken, and what it was for 2020. So we made the LULC from 2014 to 2020. So these are the classes that were taken, and you can easily see that, okay, so this was the scenario in 2014. In 2020, you see that there has been an increase in the built-up lands. There has been a decrease in the water bodies. So you can easily understand, you can easily see that how this particular parcel of land, there has been a change in this particular parcel of land. Similarly, you can also do the same. You can also do this for future prediction. So if this is the case in 2014, if this is the case for 2020, then you can also do it for maybe 2030. That can also be done through various techniques like Markov chain, etc. Now over here, what has been done is that interchange that I was saying you, that the between the classes, the change between the classes between 2014 to 2020. So from water to water, this much of square kilometer has gone, but from water class to vegetation class, this much of area has gone to vegetation class. So this is a change matrix. This is called a change matrix. And through this change matrix, you can easily understand that from one parcel of land use, the how much of that area or how much of that percent has gone to the other parcel of land use. And over here, you can also do validation. This validation is very important to know the accuracy of your work. So you can see over here, the accuracy is more or less, all of them are on an average above 85%. That means it is very much accurate. The work is very much accurate. You can also do climate change analysis through GIS, RS GIS. Now here what we have shown is rainfall variation. Now rainfall, you can gather the rainfall information from, for example, for India, you can take it from IMD. But there are various stations which is not available from IMD data. They do not give it. So for that, RS comes into effect through remote sensing or through Google Earth engine. So these are also various parts and parcels of GIS techniques. So through them, you can get information of, or through grid data, you can get information of rainfall, of temperature, of areas which are not covered through the IMD weather recording stations. So you can do that. And for example, if you just have information about of maybe in this whole study area, if you have information of maybe 3 or 4 places, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe you have information of 5 places. But through GIS technique, like IDW, kriging method, etc., you can get a spatial distribution of the entire study area based upon only those 4. But yes, the more you have, the better result you will get. But nevertheless, you will get a spatial distribution from those point data. You will get a spatial distribution from those point data for the entire study area. So for example, I had only point data of a few locations, but using GIS technology, I was able to do the spatial distribution of the entire study basin. So herein, study was done on the decadal and long-term spatial rainfall variation. So here you see from 1991 to 2000, 2001 to 2010, 2011 to 20, and this is the average. This is the rainfall long-term basin average of the entire area. So from the legend over here, one can easily understand the nature of rainfall distribution in the whole basin in each decade, and also the rainfall for the entire from 1991 to 2020, the entire scenario can also be understood through this particular image over here. So one can easily understand that these are the pockets which are having more rainfall, and these are the pockets which is having the least, that is the eastern part is having the least rainfall. Now from in this what I have shown is that the trend through some statistical method you can understand like man candle and sense law whether the trend is negative, whether the rainfall or temperature is negative, or it is decreasing or it is increasing. And if it is decreasing or increasing, what is the rate of change, that also can be understood, and the same can be mapped like it has been mapped over here. Herein, the rainfall anomaly index has been done. So rainfall anomaly index, uh, I am not going through what that is, but rainfall anomaly index has all, this has been done, this has been given by the source is given over here. So rainfall anomaly index, the result, the corresponding meaning has been given over here. Whatever result you obtain, the corresponding meaning has been given over here. So for the entire basin, here it has been shown the entire basin for each and every year. So you can see the trend line over here. So you can see for the entire basin, which years the rainfall was, the RAI was like below normal. This is a trend line, this is below normal. So this means, so you can easily check from here. So this is around -10 to -5. So this means extremely dry. So you can easily correspond this with whatever result you get. So over here, so this particular work has taken 32 stations. Now I have not given the entire 32 stations. So you can see the average of the 32 stations, and for each and every stations, what was the scenario. And here you can see the from 2001 to 10 and 11 to 20, the average, the RAI, what was the situation of the average RAI. So you see how through GIS and RS, you can gather information and you can portray those information in your pictorial format, and you can use this efficiently in your research. Now let us see how GIS can be used in forest fire management. Now, the very first strategy to defend the forest, our forest, is against the wildfires. So, if we can protect them for wildfires, and then how there are different applications of GIS in forest fire management, out of which the most important is the hazard map production, or the you can also say this as the forest fire susceptible zones, forest fire zonation, just like you had seen in the landslide susceptible zones. Similarly, forest fire susceptible zones, when you have the forest fire susceptible zones, then you can go for various forest fire simulation, resource management, etc. Now herein you see forest fire hazard suitability zonation has been done, and this work was done for Western Sikkim area. So just like I had told you that GIS is not a magic. So you have to feed it with various information which you think, and this has to be taken by the researcher. The researcher has to think that which thematic layers are important, which you think can be the conditioning factors, which you think can be the factors which can affect the forest fires. So for this particular work, we had taken aspect, slope, elevation, rainfall, humidity, wind speed, temperature, and land use. So these were taken, and then these were fed into the database, and they were then provided certain weights. Now, how do we provide weights? For example, do you think that if temperature increases, forest fire can increase? If you think yes, then you will give more weight to temperature. Now, do you think that with more rainfall, forest fire will increase? Of course, the answer is no. So, you will give suitable weight to rainfall likewise. Similarly, wind speed affects forest fire. So, you will give suitable weight to the various wind speeds. So, this is how even slope is related, elevation is related to forest fire. So you will, now how will you do this, how will you provide weight? First of all, you will provide weight by your own understanding, and secondly, you will provide weights through literature review. So once that is done, when the weights are being provided, then through various techniques, through various modeling techniques, here we have used three modeling techniques. So what were the modeling techniques that were used? We had used AHP, TOPSIS, VCOR, EDAS, and these are called MCDM techniques. These four are the MCDM techniques, and we used a machine learning technique called random forest. So these were used to check which are the areas which are most susceptible to forest fires. And then we found out again what is the necessity of having more than one such technique, again to find out the best, to be sanguine, to be 100% sure of which zone is actually more probable, more susceptible to forest fires. So over here in this particular work, we saw that almost all of them have shown that this particular area, that is again the eastern zone, has got more probability of forest fires. Now, this also requires to be validated. Again, this was validated by AUC and ROC. And then how that was validated? By actual forest fire locations. So you see that the actual forest fire locations are also showing in the same zone. So through that, we could come up. So with that, we could come up with the forest fire hazard suitability zonation. Now, habitat suitability analysis. GIS and RS can be used to find out which regions are best suitable for the various flora and fauna. Now, here what we have taken is the elephant suitability, habitat suitability analysis of one of the districts of West Bengal. So here we know that the elephants sometimes they create a lot of havoc. So it is necessary that we have some suitable zones for elephant relocation. So for that, what we have taken are again some thematic layers. So this is NDVI, that is vegetation index. We know that regions with more vegetation is good for them, for their fodder. This is wetness index. Now again, they require water for the survival. Altitude. If it is very high zones, then obviously elephants won't survive in those very high zones. This is distance from to streams. Now they will be requiring, they generally will prefer locations which are not very far away from the streams. Distance to roads. It is preferable for them to be away from the roads to reduce accidents, etc. These are the LULC. So we would want them to be away from the settlement. That is why we require the settlement LULC map, and we would want them to be near vegetation zones. Distance to settlements, of course, again, settlements, we would want them to be uh, far away from the settlements. So when these thematic layers were fed into the GIS techniques. Now, these thematic layers were taken from where? From the satellite images, from the various satellite images. Like these were taken from the Landsat images. So this is where RS comes into effect. And then it was through GIS technology that we came up when all of them were fed into the GIS database. Then through modeling, various modeling techniques, we came up with this ultimate result, which shows that this area, this particular area, these are the areas which are suitable for habitat suitability of elephants. If you cross check from here, you will find that this is the area again which has got high NDVI and water index. This is away from the settlements, etc. So this is how GIS uses, it does inter and intra analysis among the various database, and then it comes up with their own database. We can also do flood damage approximation through GIS. Again, for this, various thematic layers has to be fed into the GIS database for such work. Now let us see how GIS can be useful for soil erosion mapping. Now, all of us knows that what is soil erosion and the problems of soil erosion and why we should undertake works on soil erosion. So when the soil is eroded, the soil particles are transported by overland flow into the nearby rivers and oceans. And GIS is used to determine the rate or the potential of soil erosion in a watershed. There are various ways in which we can estimate the soil loss, like the RUSLE or the revised universal soil loss equation. And then there is the USLE, that is universal soil loss equation. So these are the general ways, these are actually a set of calculations which calculates the long-term average annual soil loss. And this calculation involves certain factors, like 6 factors. These are the specific factors. You cannot increase or you cannot decrease these factors. So these factors are used to create the soil erosion potential map. Again, when you have a potential map, then you know that these are the regions which have got the potentiality. And when you have the potential zones, then you can take proper precautionary measures against that. So this combination, the combination of these 6 specific factors provides a way to assess the soil erosion potential of an area with the existing data sources. So now herein what was done in this for this find out about this soil erosion susceptibility. So for this study area, I had already said that there are 6 factors. You cannot increase, you cannot decrease those factors. So these are the factors which were taken for the specific studies, and that is the R factor, the K, the LS factor, C, LULC, and the P factor. You already know what is LULC. So what is the R factor? This is called the rainfall erosivity factor. What that is? It actually represents the kinetic energy when raindrop have a kinetic force. So that represents and obviously all the rainfall or all the raindrops do not have the same force. Each and every shower will have different nature of kinetic energy of its raindrop. So R is the kinetic energy of raindrops impact and the rate of the associated runoff, because soil erosion has got to do with runoff. So this is the kinetic energy of the raindrops impact and the rate of the associated runoff. So you see over here some legend is done. So the region, so accordingly, the region has been delineated accordingly. Then what we have, the K factor. What is K factor? That is the soil erosivity factor. So this represents the erodibility of the soil, or what is the detachment susceptibility of the soil. Now, obviously, if the K factor is more, that means if the erodibility of the soil or the detachment susceptibility of the soil is more, then that means that those regions will be more prone to soil erosion. The LS factor or the slope steepness factor. Now, if the region is more steep, then obviously that will be more prone. The region is a plain land region, that will be less prone to soil erosion. If it is steep, then it will be more prone to soil erosion. Then we have the C factor, that is the crop management factor. Now, what does that mean? This means that how the land cover or the crop management is causing soil loss. So this obviously in fallow lands, in fallow areas, the soil loss will be much more. The crop management won't be of that nature. So the C factor, then we have the LULC and then the P factor, that is a supporting factor. So like this means that what is the effect of the various supporting factors, like what are the effect of the various practices that will reduce the amount and the rate of the runoff. So that is the P factor. So these factors are taken, some factors are generated, some factors are taken for literature review. So these are the factors which are adopted, and by adopting these factors, one can come up with such map soil erosion susceptibility map. This particular map was done by using the Rusle model. And over here, you can see that through this graphical representation, one can easily understand that these are the regions of the high steep regions, which are more prone to high susceptibility. There are certain regions over here also which has got moderate susceptibility. So from here, one can easily understand that what kind of cropping techniques can be used, should be used for management and mitigation purpose. So not only this, one you can also get the various areas in square kilometer. So you see that in general, this region, the areas in under susceptibility zonation is here coming from medium to high. So most of the area comes in very low, but then we have a considerable amount of area coming under medium susceptible zones. That is the yellow zone. We can also use GIS in air quality monitoring. So air quality monitoring, and in fact, a lot of work, if you just check in various research academic sites, you will see that a lot of works has been done during the pre and the post COVID times. You can see, so a lot of work on air quality monitoring has been done during that time. So air quality, and with more and more of urbanization and industrialization, this is becoming a real issue of research, air quality monitoring. So GIS plays a very important role in air quality monitoring because that is required for a healthy living. So through air quality monitoring, you can easily understand the regions which are more hazardous, which are more dangerous, so that proper precautions can be taken regarding the same. In over here, we try to monitor the air quality in a certain belt of the Subarnarekha River basin. So for this, for air quality monitoring, again, see, these were the satellite images that were taken. So that is an example of RS. Again, I will refer to the second slide. Extraction of information. This, if you just go to that second slide, so you will see over the extraction of information. So what informations have been extracted from this particular Sentinel-5P dataset was taken. So what was extracted? The various air qualities, the parameters were extracted. So for this present work, we had extracted carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, methane, etc. So it is mentioned over here. So these were the, you can also gather other also parameters. So there are various parameters which can be gathered. You can also take these parameters from Google Earth Engine platform. From there also you can get the various air quality parameters of your region for a set temporal time. So these, once you get all these parameters, then these can be mapped like it has been mapped over here through GIS platform. So maybe you get, just like the example I had given earlier, so maybe you get certain information, point informations of some place. So from those point information, you can generate the information of the whole, the spatial information of the whole study area. So once that is done, then you can do your respective works. So over here, you can see the spread of carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, etc. So you can do such kind of monitoring works. Various kinds of monitoring works can be done, and in fact, from this work, you can also do just like it was done for the winter season, for the summer season. So you can do seasonal works. You can also do for specific years. You can also do average work. You can also do trend analysis, like I have shown in the rainfall slide. You can do trend analysis. So you can do a lot of work through by taking the help of RS and GIS for air quality management. In this particular work, this was not done by me. So in this particular work, the authors, the researchers, they estimated suspended particle matter from water body. So you see how this is a temporal and a spatial work. So right from April 2013, so they kept a particular month Because if you go on changing the month, then obviously you will have change in your result. So it is better that you stick to 1 or 2 months or one season. So for here, from April 2013 to April 2020, every year for a fixed month, the SPM was calculated. And for calculation, for estimating the SPM, it can be done from the Landsat 8 images. So that was computed, and then the quality has been shown. So you can see that how the SPM quality is getting reduced. So how the SPM quality is changing over time, one can easily understand from this particular spatial and temporal analysis. Now, habitat suitability of mapping of medicinal plants and its conservation. In one of the earlier slides, I had shown habitat suitability of fauna. Here I am showing of flora, that is medicinal plants. Now, all of you know that medicinal plants are so important and many of them are getting endangered. So it is very important to know, and many of us, we do not even know, we do not even have the proper knowledge of medicinal plants. Generally, the medicinal plant uses are generally done by the various tribal groups, by the various tribal peoples. But this knowledge should be preserved and should be used to the next generation. So how can we do this thing? This can be done. So the knowledge of the medicinal plants can be recorded by the from the various tribal groups by various survey methods. You can use various survey and sampling methods for that. And the specific location, just like over here, the locations have been mapped. So the specific locations can be recorded in your GPS for mapping in a GIS platform. So these various species were mapped like over here. So these are all anti-malarial plant species. So the authors over here, the researchers over here, they have taken 19 anti-malarial plant species. They surveyed the various tribal groups and it was recorded using GPS, and then subsequently they were mapped. Now, if you want to, this is a very, this GIS and RS is a very important work, is a very important tool if you want to categorize the endangered status of those species, because many of these species of plants or even animals, all of us know that they are getting endangered. So since they are getting endangered, how can we utilize RSGIS for their management and mitigation? So for that, supposing some of these plants are endangered, for example, this particular plant over here, Justicia, is endangered. So what we can do is that we can categorize them that maybe this plant, this plant, this plant is endangered. So these endangered plants, we make a list of these endangered plants, and then we geotag them. We geotag these endangered plants. So then later on in future, when some other researcher will work on the same plant, then they can check by going into that area physically that whether that particular plant which was geotagged maybe a few years back is still there, or it is not there, or some more plants have come up which he can again geotag those endangered species. So this way you can do management and mitigation works. Now, if you have to do habitat suitability of medicinal plants, how can you do that? So for that, again, certain thematic layers has to be prepared. Now, for what are the thematic layers can be prepared? Like, for example, for any plant, these are the basic requirements. Rainfall, humidity, slope, elevation, soil type. These are the basic requirements. So you make thematic layers of each of these. For rainfall, one thematic layer that will show the spread, the spatial spread of rainfall, the difference of rainfall in this micro region, the humidity, the slope difference in this region, the elevation, the soil type, etc. So this will show the entire database. The thematic layers will show the spread, the spatial distribution of each of this. Then what you do? Then you take the requirement based upon this. For example, this particular plant species or any of this plant species. What is the requirement of this rainfall, humidity, slope, elevation, soil? What is the requirement for this to thrive? What is the requirement of all this? So in GIS environment, you overlay the thematic layers, and through a set of modeling techniques, then you check that where does Justicia is best suited for, based upon Justicia's requirement and the and whatever thematic layers that you have. So based upon your study areas, provisions, whatever is there, you then assign Justicia into that part, that location. I hope I am clear. I made a this kind of a map. Even you can make this kind of interactive map through GIS. So I made this interactive map, and you see over here there is one. If you go over here, then one hyperlink is opening. So if you go and open this hyperlink, so I will open this hyperlink for you, and let us see what do we have over there. So let us see what we have over here. So if you, when you open the link, then you will find that this is the botanical map that was prepared for a certain college. And when you click onto this map, so these are the various legends. You can see the legends. So what are the legends? The species has been shown. The residences has been shown for this particular college. The hostels, the departments, the amenities, etc. has been shown. So you click into in any of this, and what you see over here, the name of the species. What is the type? This is a tree. What is the utility? It is antimicrobial. Now you have to feed all this database into that particular, into that GIS platform. You have to feed this. And when you feed this, again, I had told you before, this is not a magic. So you have to feed this. But then it can disseminate whatever you have fed, and based upon the various interactions that it can do. What time of the year that it is found throughout the year. So if you just click into any of these, so this is what this species is, neem tree. So any of these things, so this is another. So what is the utility? The utility is present over here. So these are the various. So these are the various points that if you go and click into those. So like supposing this one, this particular plant is an herb, aloe vera, so etc. So these are the various types how you can use GIS. If you just click over here, so if you just click over here, so what does it show? That this is the cricket ground of that particular college. Now these are this red color shows departments. This red color shows the various departments. So if you just click into any of this department, maybe you are just clicking into any of this department. So this department shows that this is what department this is being shown over here. So over here, you can just go through the various departments. So whatever department is over here. So supposing I click over here, so this will show that what is the department, faculties over there. So what are the departments? So supposing you click over here, so it will show the department, the names of the faculties over here. So whatever database you feed, it will show those database. Now herein, I have done another work wherein the habitat suitability mapping of commercially and environmentally suitable natural vegetation was shown. So over this particular work was done for Churu district of Rajasthan. So in the legend, you can see that these are the trees, the herbs, and the shrub. And then these were divided because we wanted to find out plants which are suitable to decrease soil erosion, to check soil erosion, to check sand dunes, to check salinity, soil salinity, etc., soil loss, soil erosion. So these were the we had tried to find out how, because this is a semi-arid region, so we tried to find out how that can be done. So over here, and then you can see from this legend that this particular color means that this region is more prone to salinity. This yellow means that these are the sand dune regions. These are the green zones means these are the region. The green zone means that this is the region which is highly suitable for medicinal gardening. This particular color means that this region is prone to soil erosion. So these are the various database that was done. So for example, I click over here. So what that will tell us that this particular region is in which taluka, in which district, and this is highly suitable for salinity. Now, if you go and click into these points, so these points, this will show the trees, the species, the plant name, etc. for this area, which were located in these zones, and there were, of course, apart from these plants, there were other plants also which were located in these zones. But we found out that this plant is more suitable to check that salinity region. So we geotagged them. That was geotagged. So you see, so many plants has been geotagged. So many plants database has been geotagged. So if you go to each and every one of them, so that will give their own details. That will give their, since it has been geotagged, so their latitude, longitude, etc. Everything has been geotagged. Their utilization has been also pinpointed over here. The nature of the zone, the nature of the geographical region has been done. What area we are using this plant for, which purpose, that has also been, we have also mapped. So you see, n number of information can be over here, can be fed into this, and through GIS technique, the information can be extracted. The information through GIS technique, the information can be disseminated, like I am disseminating this information. You can type that particular link into your websites, and you can check this work, and you can do such. So you can, so just like I have shown that n number of works can be done. So even you can go to this site and you can check the various database that were generated. This is just a screenshot of what I have shown you, and the various informations that were fed, and how we can utilize those informations for the bigger public, uh, to show to the other. Because when I will utilize this information, when the environmental planners will see this, then hopefully they might want to plan according to this, because each and every of these plants have their own database regarding their requirements. That has been already fed into the database. So such a huge kind of database, you can work with such huge kinds of database, and you can come with your own database through GIS and RS techniques. Now, how can GIS and natural resource management can be linked up? So natural resource is what? Natural resource such as land, water, these are important for our social, cultural, and economic stability, and also for the growth of any country. We know that resources that are finite and non-renewable, they must be particularly considered for sustainable development, because they take thousands of years to replenish. So through RS and GIS, this provides us information for sustainable development of the same, how they can be preserved, those natural resources can be preserved, and how we can map those techniques, those datas. Over here, what we try to do is that we try to find out the groundwater potentiality of a certain area in Tamil Nadu. So again, you see, for finding out the potential map, we first fed the software with some thematic layers. What were the thematic layers? Again, not any thematic layer, thematic layers which we thought was required for this particular work. So what are those? Like you can see in the screen. So first of all, it was stream density, rainfall, then what is the nature of the geomorphology of the region, the soil type, the slope, nature of the slope. So these are the various things that were the geology of that region, the lineament structure, the lineament density. So these were taken, and there are various reasons in taking each of them. I won't be going into the details. I won't be going into the details of each of the reasons of these. So you can easily get all those things from literature survey, or you can also ask me in the comment section. So over here, the ultimate result that we received is this, that is the groundwater potential zonation of particular this area, and that was done through this methodology. So over here we saw that these are the red zones are the regions of very high, and there are certain regions which are very low. So certain regions have got very high potentiality and certain regions have got low potentiality. That means over here you can see that the very low has got the region has got 102 square kilometer of area. That is, most of the area is under low to very low. So when you see this kind of map and this kind of database, so this database has been generated by the GIS software. You have not fed it into that database. So some database you feed and then you see that, and some database GIS will itself try to extract, and that will also be shown. That will also be shown just like over here. So what is GIS and RS doing over here? Through analyzing the various inter and intra-thematic maps, they have come up with these areas, and as you can see over here, low to moderate is the maximum region is having low to moderate, and some is also having moderate. Some is also having moderate over here. So you see that this region is in dire. When this kind of a map is given to the environmentalists, is given to the planners, then they will easily know that these are the regions which is in dire requirement of groundwater recharge, because these are the so when you give this kind of a map to the various planners, then they know that okay, since these are the regions moderate, high, and very high, these are the regions which where the groundwater potentiality can be good. So these regions can also be good recharge zones also. And since these are not very good, they do not have high potentiality. That means the various kinds of industrialization or urbanization or groundwater extraction or from these zones must be checked, because they already fall under low to very low groundwater potential zones. So you can plan accordingly, according to your purpose that can be planned. Now, GIS and healthcare facility. Now, this work was again done. The work was done to find out the healthcare infrastructure of Aizawl district of Mizoram state. Now, again, I will show you the work. Now, this is the work that was done for the Aizawl district of Mizoram to find out the groundwater susceptible zones. Now, this work was done for Aizawl district of Mizoram state to find out the dependency assessment of healthcare infrastructure. Now, what was done over here? This is the entire Aizawl district. And Aizawl district, the type of healthcare infrastructure, the type of hospitals that are there, that were mapped. Like in Aizawl, the healthcare institutions can be divided into DCHC, DCH, 4C, 3C. These were the various institutions, and this work was more related to the COVID-19. Then we had what other things were mapped was COVID-19 testing center, the vaccination centers, etc. So these so many things were mapped over here. So if you just click over here, then you will find that if you just click here, then DCHC, there are 8 DCHC. And the super specialty DCH, there was only one DCH which you can see over here, the red colored. 4C, how many we had? 130, 3C, 13, etc., etc. So you can go in details when you check this site. You can go into details. So what I mean to say over here is that such kind of huge database can be fed into this. Now, if you just go into any of these, like supposing I go into this particular, this, let us see what we have in this red particular zone. So this says that this is Zoram, the name is Zoram Medical College. And this is where this address is there, is written over here. But how many beds are there? How many doctors are there? What kind of medical facilities are there? Nurses, the health workers, how many health workers, how many N95 kits, etc., etc., cylinders, gloves, etc., ICU beds. So much of database can be fed, and this can be showcased. This huge amount of data you can show it. Let us now check what is this. So this shows what? This shows that this is a government high school and this is the number of beds, etc., etc. So these are the various things that can be seen. So if you just relate this violet color, what does this mean? This comes under 4C. So and these two colors, these are the at the blocks of the blocks of Aizol. So the various Aizol vaccination centers, etc. If you just click into them, so this will show the various vaccination centers, how many pregnant women were vaccinated, bedridden, how many refugees were vaccinated. So many database has been fed into this. Where is this? Then what kind of vaccination was given? What kind of vaccination was given. So much of database has been fed into this. So much of database. Then what is the age type? How many within from women group 12 to 14, 15 to 17, etc., etc. So how many by above 60? So all this database can be shown or has been shown in this. So you can work on such lines. You can work on such lines when when you are working for healthcare. So here, in this particular work, we tried to find out the spring water suitable and the vulnerable watershed demarcation was done. So which watersheds are suitable, which spring water watersheds are suitable, and which spring water watersheds are vulnerable. So for this work, again, these are the various thematic layers that were taken, which were thought to affect the spring water suitable and the vulnerable zones. So as you are seeing over here, that is the elevation map was taken, the slope map, the mean rainfall, etc. So these are the various thematic layers that were taken for this particular work to find out the zones. And this is the result. So you can find out the spring water suitable and the vulnerable zones. So again, as you are seeing, two different types of approaches were applied. One was AHP VCOR and the other was AHP TOPSIS. These are the MCDM techniques. So AHP, according to AHP VCOR, these are the zones, these are the watersheds which are suitable for spring water. And again, even in TOPSIS, is even in the TOPSIS, AHP TOPSIS, it is also showing almost same result, that is the suitable zones. Now again, we found out that these are the zones which are again vulnerable. The same result is also found in the AHP TOPSIS result, that these are the vulnerable. The reason can be different, so you have to go through the entire paper to know the reasons. The reason can be like population, because these regions over here, the population is also more, due to which there is more extraction of spring water. So that is a separate research area. So these are the various ways in which you can utilize your GIS knowledge for your research, for your various kinds of research. So again, as I am saying, that this GIS is a multi-dimensional approach. So you can utilize this. I have shown this only for earth science research. So you can utilize this for, you can see, you can check how you can utilize GIS and RS for your own research build. Thank you so much. So if you have any query, you may just jot it down.